Okay, so digging into my Nikon D50 again. If you'd watched my other video, I converted it to full spectrum by just removing the UV IR cut filter. And I tried to put in an all clear filter that was the same dimensions, 29 by 25, but it was 2 millimeters thick. I think this is actually 1.3, the original one. I bought a 1.5. And I think it'll work. But this one here, I think the glass is 1 millimeter, and then that filter that's glued on is 0.3 of a millimeter. So quite thin. So of course if my other video is more in depth, but I've removed my battery and my memory card. And then I'm going to start digging in. And I won't video the entire thing since I have one doing all of it, but I will get a video of seeing how this fits. Okay, well, I've got it open, and I learned something new. I was, for one thing, I didn't mention, I don't think, on this little sensor glasses, there's a little notch on one of the corners. And I'm thinking that's just to make it easy to pop out in or out. But one thing I did notice, I was trying to figure out if there was dirt. And when I took my little light and laid it like this, so it was at an angle, I could start seeing dust particles on the sensor that I couldn't see when I had it up above. Okay, well, I cleaned it. I took a Q-tip. I don't know if this is the best technique, but I dipped it in rubbing alcohol and got it just damp. You don't want it dripping. And just tried to barely brush off little specks of dust. And then I ended up taking the other end to try to dry the little streaks. I saw a few streaks. And you'd be surprised how small the little hairs are on there. So I was being careful to get that stuff off. And I think I've got it clean. There might be one little fuzzy, but it looks really good. And I'm also going to go over it with this little lens blower, because I think there's just a couple of tiny little Q-tip threads, perhaps. It looks pretty decent. Holding this light down at an angle really helped. I was surprised what I could see. Well, it fit in there quite easily. One of the little things I had to remember, when I removed these last 4 screws that hold down the little spring, there's another clip underneath that. The glass goes under the clip. I'd forgotten. I took the spring off and I was trying to get the glass to sit in there, and for a minute I thought I had the wrong size, and I compared the size of it to the old one. I'm like, they're identical. So then I remembered that was on there, and I just had to pull it off with my fingernail. And it's looking good and clean since I was able to hold my light down at the angle where I could see the shadows. And so now I'll put it back together and hope I didn't mess anything up and go from there. Well, I actually got it back together. It powered on. I've got an automatic lens set on there. It autofocuses. The flash works. My monitor back there on the back works. It has all my information for the menu and everything. So, looks like somehow I managed to do it again and not trash it. Let's see, of course, I bought obviously I removed the original one, the UV IR cut, and I put in clear glass for full spectrum. And I think I mentioned on my first video that I bought that thing on eBay the clear glass. I think I've seen it on AliExpress as well, so I'm not sure if I bought both of them on AliExpress or if one on each. But you can also, I've seen on AliExpress, I think it was, you can get one of these that's for infrared, that's 720 nanometers. I'd thought about ordering one of them, but I've got a 720 filter and a 950. And I thought, well, I've already got, one or the other. Another thing I noticed, I just kind of discovered last year when I was on a little vacation. Since when I've got my infrared filter in here, of course, I can't see anything through the viewfinder, but I noticed if I kind of put my eye just to the left of the viewfinder and look above it, and I'm using a wide angle lens, I mean real wide angle, like a 20 millimeter, I can frame my picture just by looking at the thing. Just looking right above it, and I'm sure it's not exact, but it's such a wide view that it works pretty good. You could possibly even look over the center of your little hot shoe if you can't see through it. I mean, normally when I do things with a tripod, I just frame it, and then I screw in the filter. But I was experimenting because I was out walking around on the beach and stuff and in wooded areas in Florida at some of their preserves, and I thought, I don't want to take the thing apart every time I try to recompose a picture. But I found I could do that. And, I had just did some little test exposures and saw what they looked like on my back screen there on the preview so that I could have a reasonable idea of my shutter speed and that. And worked out quite well. And plus, since I was doing it on RAW, that's another important thing. I was doing it on RAW, which allowed me, when I got it on GIMP or whatever, to do a lot more adjustments. So it gives you more room for error. So your exposure, there is some play in it as far as what's right on.